do something a little bit different, and I'm going to actually preach before we worship. I got one person that liked that. Okay, good. And so the challenge with a message like this is I've got to watch the clock differently because I'm used to being done at 10:40, and it's 9:41 right now, so you probably don't want 59 minutes of me. Unless we're talking about like Song of Solomon or something, then maybe, but we're going to dive into the book of Acts chapter 16. And I just want to, again, invite you all to be here tonight at 6 o'clock. The children's choir will be so amazing. And today is all about worship. Today's all about praise. And so tonight, it's going to be a night of worship. What we're going to do right after this message is going to be worship and praise because there's power in our praise. There's power in getting breakthroughs and victories in our praise. So often, our default mechanism when things get challenging, when things get tough, is to adjust to the world's way of doing things. But can I tell you, the Bible outlines how we can respond, how we can react to certain situations to truly get us through, and that's what we're going to look at today. I also want to mention next week as we honor our graduates, we're going to give some updates on the building plans and what's happening with our student center, and you can continue to give. We've already received a lot of generous blessings online under Student Center if you ever want to give. And then next week, we will be receiving an offering as a seed offering for that. And then more details will come in the months to come. And then you'll hear a whole lot more as summer begins. Last week, if you were here, I unpacked quite the message on really what it means to be demonized, what the supernatural looks like, the spirit world from a negative standpoint. And we took that from Acts chapter 16. There's a young girl that we read about, and this girl had a heart that just opened itself up to being demonized. And so here's what it says in verse 16. Once we were going to the place of prayer, we were met by a slave girl who had a spirit by which she predicted the future. She earned a great deal of money for her owners by fortune telling. The girl followed Paul and the rest of us, shouting, "These men are servants of the Most High God who are telling you the ways to be saved." Now, what she was speaking was true. And so when we think about the demonic, we are actually kind of taken off guard by this. But that's how he may say something that's accurate. He may say something that's true to lure us in, and that's where the deception begins. And Paul encounters this girl, and after several days, I think that's interesting. He didn't just confront it immediately, but after several days, he became disturbed in his spirit. He became annoyed, and he cast the spirit out of her. And so the girl could no longer perform her responsibility, if you would, of fortune telling. And so some people lost some money in the deal. So that's where we pick up in verse 20. They brought Paul and Silas before the magistrates. These are the leaders of the day. These are the leaders of this small city. And he says, these Jews. So when it says Paul and Silas, remember, Luke and other people are with them, but they're focused in on the Jews. This is a race issue. This is an anti-Semitic issue. This isn't about these magistrates or these individuals who were trying to own this slave girl wanting money back because of the money lost. This is about them taking revenge on some Jews. And it says they brought them before the magistrates and said, "These men are Jews and are throwing our city into an uproar by advocating customs unlawful for us, Romans, to accept or practice." The crowd joined in the attack against Paul and Silas, and the magistrates ordered them to be stripped and beaten. I've got a few pictures I want to show you of what this may have looked like. First of all, you'd have a Roman legion, which is that picture in the upper right-hand corner, or upper left-hand corner. Sorry, I was looking from a different standpoint. Upper left-hand corner. And the Roman magistrate, the Roman legion, would be surrounded by six, lictors. And these individuals would surround him. So anywhere he would go, it's kind of like his bodyguards, but they would carry these rods, a rod of 6, and they'd be wrapped in leather. And so these individuals, when they would go around, if somebody was out of line, if somebody was causing an uproar, they would beat them. Oftentimes, these guys, they were so violent, they would do their best to hang the individual upside down and then begin to beat them. You can begin to imagine what that would do with the blood flow, what that would do to your ankles and your feet. And so it says they were stripped and beaten after they had been severely flogged. So in the upper right-hand corner, you have this kind of a weapon, if you would, a cat of nine tails, they may call it. It's a flagrum. It's going to have metal. It's going to have sharp objects that are going to be attached to it. And it's going to be very similar, if not the same, as what they used on Jesus. So now they flip the person over and they tie them up by their hands, so they're hanging there defensiveless. And they would take that whip and just begin to hit their body. Now, in our mind, we quickly think, okay, just one big whip, take it. But oftentimes it would be as many as 39 times. 39 times 9. 9 of those things hitting your back at once. 9 of those metal shards hitting your back and just piercing the skin and ripping it off. Then it keeps going on. After they'd been severely flogged, they were thrown into prison, and the jailer was commanded to guard them carefully. Upon receiving such orders, he put them in the inner cell and fastened their feet in the stocks. So you got a picture here in the bottom right-hand corner of them being flogged with their hands up. Now you have the stocks. So